Like I said, my journey is a rather long and windy one. I'll try to be as brief as I can. But I have to say that I was compelled to leave my country and to come here, if that term is agreeable with people, as an academic refugee. Yeah. My daddy, I was born in the southern regions of Ghana, where cocoa plantations are mainly, sited. And my dad took me back home to my home area in the north when I was about the age of 4 or 5. And I always give him the credit for who I am today and what I've been able to, achieve, because he had a vision. In our culture, that's the Bimoba culture, you don't send your first child to school. It's a taboo, so to speak, because the firstborn son is the one that is supposed to inherit the traditions of the family. He's supposed to be the depository of culture of the family. If your father is an idol worshiper, you have to learn the names of your ancestors and how you can do that, give them sacrifices and all of that, and pass on the history to the... So to send a child, your first child, to school is more like killing him culturally, murdering him culturally, and murdering your own culture. But my daddy decided that he would send me to school anyhow, because he realized while he was in the southern part of Ghana that people who seemed to make it in life, they went there to make money, but they never really became rich. They barely became rich, because they were sharecroppers for the big, plantation owners in the south. And there's not a single person from my village who went to the south that we can consider as a rich person who has become rich from farming under the cocoa plantations. All right. So he decided that he would send me to school, because school was what was, that's where the promise was. And so while he, sent me to school, he at the same time tried to give me the cultural training that I would need. So he was kind of giving me the dual training to be a traditional leader, as well as, if I were to make it in education, also a leader in that field, in modern education. And he planned it, he was very deliberate. Farming, our farming styles, we use our bare backs and our bare hands, basically, using local implements. The farming patterns, the songs you sing while you farm to keep away the pain, to motivate yourself and to farm. He taught me all of that, and taught me the traditions of my family also along. So he would wake me up in the morning and, have me work with him in the field outside the house. And then at about 7 o'clock, he would have me go in and take a bath and go to school. On my way back to the house, our farm is along the way to my school. I would have to come back to meet him on the farm in the evening, take off my shirt, farm with him, and then when the sun sets, we go home. So he did this over the years that I was in, primary school, middle school, and until I went to secondary school, when, of course, there was that, that distance, and he couldn't continue with that. All right. So he gave me that training. And incidentally, a missionary from the United States, Reverend Walt Dimas, came with his family in the 70s. And there wasn't any playground there for us to go, and we have parks and playgrounds for kids here. So the missionaries, as new people from another culture, were our tourist attraction. So when we closed school, we would run to the mission to see, these strange people, from America. And over time, Walt Dimas and his family, got to like me a lot. And, they took me, he put me around himself, and he would send me to do errands for him when I was free and not in school. And when I was in secondary school, he would employ me along with other young people who were going to secondary school, so that we could have money to be able to go back to school. And he had also another, so it was a building upon what my daddy had already. At the time I was going to secondary school, it was very hard from your peasant resources to be able to pay for your child's journey, transport and, maintenance in school. And so the Reverend Walt Dimas' support to us who were, worked with him was very significant in enhancing and moving me forward. Now, when he left my country, other missionaries came when I was now an adult in high school and college. I think of Reverend Philip Sipes and his family, whose daughters are my godchildren, and they are now big girls, big women, I should say. So they have been lucky or fortunate to have that, continued support. But it was not always easy. When the missionaries came back home to the United States, there was no other job. What we had to do, I had to do along with other colleagues, was to travel back to the South where our parents were to go and do what we call by day. You're paid by day. They give you a plot of land to clear with a cutlass and then a machete, and then they'll pay you by day. Or you collect a huge piece of land and work over a period of a month, and they call that pa, all right, in the local languages there. And this is what we did in order to get money to go back to school. I remember an incident that that is very significant in the sense that I went to my uncle, my father's half brother. He was also still working down there, and I helped him on his the cocoa farm. And when I went back to the city, Kumasi, to travel on back home to go to school, we had to sleep in a kiosk filled with people from my home area who were down there as either driver mates or who were kind of doing odd jobs in the city to survive. And I remember that the money that my uncle gave me, the mistake I made was I didn't give it to the owner of the kiosk, who is my uncle. I should have given the money to him to keep, but I didn't give the money to him. I kept it in my pocket, and that money was stolen by one of the young people that slept in that room. The following morning, I touched my pockets and I had no money. That term, we used to have a term system, trimestral system. That term was the hardest. And my daddy I was posted like a mail, packaged like a mail and sent back home. The truck driver decided to take me, pro bono, and took me home. I had nothing on me. No money to eat along the road. It took us almost 4 days to reach my home. All right. It was a very difficult semester. I remember my daddy had to send me to borrow money from some of his well-off friends to be able to send me to school. And that term was also very hard because I got chicken pox in school. And I always remember that because that was the only term all through from one, secondary school, from 1, 2, 3 to 4. That was the only term in which a colleague of mine beat me in the exams. I was always first, all right? But that term, I became second. And that is partly because of the lack of finance, the resources, and the difficulties I had to go through. And you talk about, resources in education, and that's very important. It makes a big difference. And so I will never forget that semester when I became second for the first time through my very early years in secondary school. And so, but again, I'm coming back to Waldemars because Waldemars and his family really impacted me a lot. I'll call them the best of America. And they represented America so well. I wish there were a way that, one of these presidential whatever, they could be invited, and that I can give a testimony to the nation about who America, the real Americans, those who really are changing people's minds out there in Africa and other places, who are never really recognized, But he impacted me a lot. And you know what? I wanted to become a reverend minister like him, and like his, have a family, raise a family. And that's how I moved from the Catholic Church into the Lutheran Church many years after he had left, actually,